Let me tell you something really interesting. Now, growing up, I never really accounted anything towards luck or towards destiny, which is like the topic of today's video. But now I think a little bit differently. Now I think destiny is there, but not exactly how people portray it or how people think about it. Because whenever somebody gets success in their life, a lot of people like to think that, oh, he was just destined from success from the start, and that was just like how the universe had prepared it for him, and basically don't take into the account the efforts of that particular man. So I think there's like an involvement of destiny, but not how much what you or other people might think. So let's get into it. So I personally think that believing in destiny is almost similar to believing that you don't have free will in the world. Because if we take someone who's destined for success, does that mean that no matter what that guy does, he will get success in that? I personally don't think so. And I heard this really good analogy from anime. Like, people like to hate on anime for a lot of things, but this was a really beautiful thing that I got from an anime I just watched. Like, when I decided that I will record this video, I hadn't watched that anime, and now I came across something that is like exactly similar to this. So the anime I'm talking about is Black Lagoon, and in second season, I think there's an episode in which a girl says that life is like a dice. Like, you can throw the dice in whatever direction you want, but you cannot control what will come out on top. So like that was like the best analogy for life I have ever seen anywhere. But I think we can kind of relate destiny to that as well. That some people are like destined to get a 1 or destined to get a 5 or a 6, but they can choose where to throw that. But at the same time, I don't think we can really disregard people's efforts for things. And if you're talking about efforts, do I really believe that you can overcome your destiny or you can overcome your fate essentially by just sheer hard work? I think there's a boundary to that. So I personally think that destiny is not a proper like point that you can get to, or it's like bound to come. I think destiny is a synonymous word to having a boundary or like a sphere that you can't go beyond. Because when we think about like when people use the word destined for success or he was destined for failure, so we see that people say these things after seeing like what the child does. Like, they basically see what the child is doing in his childhood, and then on the basis of that they think that was he destined for success or not. So for example, if there's a very young child and he's really good at painting, and then he goes on to become the best painter in the world, so everybody will say that that guy was destined for success or like destined to become the best painter in the world. But I think that there will be a ton of kids or a ton of children in the world who will be good at painting when they were like young, and then they will like you just eventually get out of it, or they will just stop painting or not become the best in the world. Like, if we're talking about just like the top one, he won't become that, or a lot of people won't become that. Because when we see like the best in the world is only one person, but a lot of people are good at something in their childhood and they leave it after when they like go forward. So I think that destiny is the same way. Like, destiny, people use it to like kind of get a boundary. So if someone is like really good at something from a very young age, they have a really big potential to achieve. But on the other hand, if you take an example of some dude who is born in poverty, who doesn't have a lot of money growing up, he has bad health, like, you can't really expect that kind of success that another person can potentially get, who's living in a good neighborhood, who has like good money coming in, good health, everything. So that's what I think destiny is. It's like a boundary which you can potentially reach there. So let me tell you why I use the analogy of a sphere exactly and not like a 2D line or anything else. So when we say that someone is born in poverty and he has bad health and he dies an early death, we will say that he was like destined for failure or he was destined for this. That's why I use the analogy of a sphere, because it's like all the way around. Like, you can go upwards, you can go downwards. So this is like an example of a downward, like downward destiny that you're destined to get here. But at the same time, like if you're talking about the failure, like not things not going as you planned, because you can be distant either way. So you can imagine a rich kid who has everything in his life and he could have never asked for anything else, all the money in the world. That guy is most likely not destined to die of hunger. But a guy in poverty, he's destined to die of hunger if he dies. And that's another thing, that nobody actually says he was destined for this or I was destined for this until they actually get to that point. So that is also really interesting. And this is the proof basically on why we say that destiny has an involvement of like voluntary action. Because nobody says that like when a child is like really young, or like basically whenever somebody hasn't achieved something, nobody actually says that you're destined for success. And like it's also kind of a like jinx kind of thing, that if you say that, then it's most likely then it won't happen. And that's personally what I think. Like I know like you can find some clip or some guy of saying, because all of this is like not concrete things, it is not scientific, it is philosophical. So you can find a lot of things, a lot of different opinions on this. But I personally think that you cannot say that someone is destined for a particular thing until they have actually achieved that thing, because the potential or the sphere we talked about, it is different for everybody, and we can only kind of guess that where that sphere is. That's it. We cannot decide it for sure, or like have on clear idea of what that guy will do, because voluntary action, this is like a completely variable thing. Like the highest probability of maths you can get, like that's even more variable than that voluntary action. So I think that it is just an impossible thing to exist, that if somebody is saying free will does not exist, because there are like so many variables for that, and the theory and the data just does not qualify that in like voluntary action or the free will does not exist. Like if I put my fingers like in this order, there's nobody stopping me from doing that. And it is, I truly believe it is my own free will. That is just my opinion. And if any of you want to debate on it or like share your thoughts related to this, I would love to hear it in the comments. And potentially we can like also make a joint video about it. And let me know what you think. And that's all from me.